Hello and welcome back to the Blues Focus podcast with me, Tommy Kelsall, Sam Sheppey, and Zach Woods. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm a bit disappointed with the result yesterday, but I'm feeling fairly fresh. Probably more fresh than Sam after his long journey back yesterday. But
Yeah,
I'm good, mate.
Sam, you've got to tell us about your journey home. Obviously, we went to the game yesterday together, but we were coming from opposite ends of the country, and obviously travelling back down to London is a bit of a pain at the best of the times. But you didn't get back until what, 10 o'clock last night?
Yeah, because like where I live, obviously Hertfordshire to Staffordshire is quite a trek anyway. And yeah, coming back from Stoke-on-Trent to Euston, we stopped like just after Nuneaton, and they said there was like a delay because there was like a medical emergency on
Mm,
board a train at Watford Junction. So then they had to deal with that person, get him off the train. So then the one ahead wasn't moving, so then we weren't moving, and
mm.
then we got moving again. And as we were pulling into Euston, because people were saying around us, like, oh, maybe we're entitled to some money back on the train. And I was like, at least that could, bring some happiness to my day that I could get some money back. And the guy was like, oh, we've been delayed by 13 minutes. If you're delayed by 15, you get delay repay.
Oh, for
I'm
God's
like,
sake, honestly. Bloody
like, are you
trains.
kidding me? Like, 2 minutes. And then everyone just like booed on the train. As we
That's a fucking pantomime.
and looking you, there was two guys I think went to football as well, and they had like their stopwatch out on their phone, like timing it for the time we got into the station to see whether we are entitled to delay repay.
Man alive, honestly. I mean, Zach, you're not a big fan of trains as well, aren't you?
Don't get me started. We've got so much to complain about today, Tommy. Let's stay
Oh,
away from the trains. It'll be a 3 hour pod, so
it really
I'll
would be
stick to
actually.
blues.
Yeah,
And
these.
also another one on that from me. Like I was looking on the train to see how my accumulator got on because while I was waiting for you, I had like a £2 free bet Sky Bet. Just use it on an accumulator, and I had like five legs. Four of them came through, and the one that didn't was Swansea Hull. I had Swansea to win, and Hull scored in the 97th minute.
Oh,
Honestly, what a
like the
devastating day.
killer.
So I was just like, you know what? If it's gonna happen today, then everything's gonna happen today.
It's good to get all your bad luck out at once, isn't it? I suppose. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you're looking for a way to make football matches more exciting this season without throwing your money away, then you need to download Tipple. Tipple is a free-to-play prediction game built for fans of all 92 English League clubs, perfect for playing with your mates while watching the football. Each week you'll be challenged to predict 6 correct scores from 20 fixtures across the Premier League, Championship, League 1 and 2, and it's just the results. No scorelines, no budgets, no transfers, no overthinking. So pick your 6, climb the table and rule the group chat with Tipple. The link to download the app is in the description and use code BF2025 to join our Blues Focus League. Thank you to Tipple for sponsoring this video, and now back to the video. Today we will be talking about the defeat to Stoke City yesterday, a 1-0 defeat at the Bet365 Stadium. But yeah, it was just a disappointing game, wasn't it? Obviously, Sam, you and I went to the pubs beforehand, which was good fun, having some like we don't usually do that ourselves actually, so it was quite nice just to hang around some Blues fans and soak up some of the atmosphere and everything. Met loads of you guys who watched the channel as well. It was always fantastic. That is obviously you'd have seen on the vlog if you've watched it, and if you haven't, what is wrong with you? But you've seen on the vlog that there was a guy who's travelled all the way from Perth in Australia just to come and watch the Blues, and he's been two times before in last season. He came for the final at Wembley, which we lost 2-0, and then the Crawley game not long after that, where we drew 0-0. And then yesterday, he still didn't see a goal, honestly. That poor
He's a
man,
nice guy,
honestly.
but what I would
He's a
say to
lovely
him is
guy.
maybe don't come back for a while
Yeah,
because you're still
yeah.
gonna be cursed.
Get some bad luck out the way, Maybe like go and win a few quid on like some jackpot machines and everything, and then come back, and then you can bring your good luck back with you. But honestly, what a poor man, honestly. Like the guy come all that way, and then couldn't see us even get. Well, I mean, we didn't even have much of a shot on target. I think realistically, we only had one. I think that was Gray's that he
Well,
sort of put into
online
the
it says
floor.
zero, so
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, how you can really count that as a shot on target, really. The keeper just comes and sort of pushes it onto the floor. Really, it was absolutely woeful. As was the performance, unfortunately. I was obviously quite disappointed with the game against Leicester. I didn't think we played particularly well in that game, but honestly, compared to yesterday, it makes us play look like we played brilliantly against Leicester. We were just so placid throughout the whole game, but like no threat at all. Like we seemed to just run out of ideas in the first 20 minutes as well. Like we had no ideas in the bank of like all we could really do was sort of get the balls down the wings and then just sort of come back, every single time. There was one instance yesterday where Gray had made a pretty decent run towards the edge of the box and we sort of recycle it round like how most modern football teams play now, and they sort of recycle it round. And we somehow managed to push ourselves back into our own box, and then Stoke come and win the ball in our own area. It's like we had the ball on their box. So why did we just carry on going that way? There's just like a proper lack of threat at the moment. And Sam, obviously, you would have seen, having been there yesterday with us, but like there's something missing at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah, and like I mean, following on from the match preview, like Dan said to me, the Stoke representative, that the first goal in the game was going to be crucial, and
Mm,
obviously the first goal turned out to be the only goal. And I feel like in this season, when we've got in positions where we are behind in games, we found it really hard, like to break through teams because they're kind of just stick in their shape and they let us have the ball in non-dangerous areas. And I feel like
yeah.
there's this, as you said, passive build-up play, and obviously, it worked for large parts of the League One season because we found ourselves in front in a lot of games and, creating lots of chances against weaker opposition. But now the opposition's stronger, you just got to try and be a bit more creative in those final third areas. And yes, there are a lot of new players that have joined and have got to sort of adjust to each other. But I feel like Christoph Klara got it spot on in the interview after the game because, the Blues reporter kind of chucked that line to him to say, like, oh, we've got lots of players coming back from international break,
Mm,
got lots of new
mm,
signings. He was like, no, we can't say that because at the end of the day, like, we've spent enough money on forward players and, you look at the kind of caliber of players that we've got as well, and they're just not doing enough
yeah.
to cause the opposition team any threat.
Zach, obviously, from watching it at home, you'd have seen on the cameras a different angle that we saw at the game. Was it as bad as we all sort of made it out, me and Sam?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it was. I think it's a tricky one. I think Sam's spot on in that last season we could get away with it a little bit more against these weaker oppositions, these League One sides, because often we would nick a goal in the first 20 minutes and then we can see out games. This Chris Davies team has never been a team that batters teams 4-5-0. They've always
Yeah.
been tight score lines, 1 or 2 goals. And that's just the way that the style we play, that just the way is the way it is. If we were such a team where we're constantly attacking, constantly pushing for that third, fourth goal, fair enough, but we're not. We'll go a goal up, we'll go a second goal up, and we'll keep the ball and we'll retain possession. The problem is if we don't get that initial goal or we concede early, like we did yesterday, then it's a massive uphill battle. I
Mm,
think it's such a shame because, I mean, for example, watching the Liverpool game this afternoon, Liverpool had a lot of the ball, as did Blues yesterday. But with that Liverpool side, you just know it's coming. At some point, it's going to come. That goal's going to arrive. And yesterday, it did not feel like that at all. We had all the ball, all the possession, but not once did it ever feel like we're going to go get this equaliser here.
mm,
It's We are out of ideas in that final third, aren't we? And I think that's proven in the changes that Chris Davies made yesterday, obviously bringing in a few new names, which I think was the right decision for sure. And I think, not to go off on a tangent on like Patrick Roberts, but I thought he looked quite good yesterday. But we're out of ideas in that final third, and it's costing us. And I think if something doesn't change soon, it will continue to cost us because defensively, to be fair, Stoke have had a couple more yesterday if it weren't for Allsop's heroics. He made a couple of fantastic saves, but defensively, I don't think there's a problem too much. It's in that final third where we're not scoring goals, are we?
mm. No, I agree. And I'll come on to my points later, but definitely I feel like I'll stick with you actually on this, Zach, and then go to you, Sam. But like, is there cause for concern or is it too early on in the season?
I think it's definitely too early on. And I also think this was probably expected. It's the championship. We're going to lose games of football this season. We're going to have rocky periods. That League One season was incredible. It was
Mm,
unbelievable. As Blues fans, we probably won't see something like that again. Not many teams ever do. I think, funnily enough, I said prior to the Northampton game, I think with you, Tommy, I literally said before kickoff, enjoy this while it lasts because
mm,
we are going to have bumpy periods. And since that, we've lost the last 3 games. So yes, disappointing. Personally, I think expected. It's going to be a tough season. It's not going to be plain sailing. It's not going to be swimming, but things do need to turn around ASAP. And I think Swansea next week, which I'm sure we'll get onto at the end of the pod, it's a great opportunity to turn things around. But yeah,
mm.
not good enough yesterday.
Sam?
Yeah, like because we've played now what 5 games in the championship, and you've had the 2 cup games as well. And I wanted to do like just a bit of research because I feel like a few games now is a decent sample size to kind of base off of the direction we're heading in this season in regards to the way we think like offensively and defensively. So I've got some
Mm.
sand here actually, and I've never done this before. I've actually got like a piece of paper
Actual
here.
research on the
Oh, I
Blues
like
Focus
it. I
podcast. This
like
is the first.
Actual research, right? And I would like read out some findings of what I saw. So in the league, yeah, we're 22nd for shots per game, 21st for shots inside the penalty area, 24th for shots on target, 24th for shots on target percentage, 15%, and 24th for shots on target per 90.
Well, that transitions quite nicely into my point I was going to make. Shooting, honestly, like as you read out there, Sam, honestly, like that is just pretty much my point personified. We do not shoot enough, and it is enraging. Like yesterday when we were there was a great opportunity where the ball sort of gets loose in the box and nobody takes the opportunity on. They don't. It's almost like they're afraid. And I get this feeling, particularly around modern football. I know it's an overused phrase and everything, but definitely by the way that things are coached nowadays, is that there's this sort of like worry about if you do take a shot on like Mark Leonard did yesterday and it sails over the top of the bar. It's like, oh, okay, we won't do that again because we don't want to keep doing that and making ourselves look like fools. But like at the same time, like if we're literally last in the league for shots on target and you still never take any shots on the goal, then you're never ever going to win football games. Like literally, like yesterday, Stoke could have took half of their team off and probably still would have won the game. Honestly, like we were woeful in front of goal every single time we got near the box or near the goal. Every time I was just like, I don't think we're going to score. I just could not see us scoring. There was no threat, no intimidation, very little pressing from the front as well. Like usually I always praise Stansfield for his work rate going forward, but he has just come back from an injury, and also the fact that the service that he got all game, when he's just chasing everything up front, he must have just thought at some point like, oh, this is just like I'm working my ass off for nothing here. And there was such little to look on and go, yeah, we did that all right. So it was like the Leicester game for me, and I feel like yesterday was a bit of a realization of that. It was like we didn't play well, in my opinion, against Leicester. We were very sloppy on the ball, kept giving the ball away, as we did yesterday. No shots on the target, as we did yesterday. Yes, we had a lot of the possession, but we didn't score. And honestly, the Leicester game compared to the Stoke game, in my eyes, is exactly identical. And yet people are now going, oh yeah, we definitely didn't play well against Leicester. Like, compared to the Leicester game, like I said, I think we played all right, compared to that. We looked literally not intimidating in the slightest. Like there was no threat from anybody yesterday. So I don't know. Yeah. I mean, those stats, like you say, they just highlight the point of us just being so timid in front of goal.
And it's obvious to see, isn't it, like where the main weakness lies. And I also want to bring up set pieces as well, because that's something that really frustrated me and you, like at the ground, because when you see it firsthand, you see like the deliveries that get put into the box from like corners or free kicks. We do the same thing every time. We just try and aim for Christoph Klar at the back post. And most of the time, either the goalkeeper catches it or it goes off for a goal kick. And it's just ridiculous. Like, mix it up a little bit,
Yeah.
surely. Like, maybe Clara can make a run at the front post, something like that. Or like in-swinger versus out-swinger. Because again, another stat I've got here, 16 over 18 corners have been in-swingers. So it's just the same thing pretty much every single time. Like, why not go short from a corner or something? Just mix it up a little bit. And it's just frustrating to see that, like, that was one of the things that Chris Davies actually highlighted himself before the start of the season as area that we need to improve on. Like he said, with club media, we need to improve on our set pieces. And we conceded from one, and that's how we lost yesterday. And we're not doing enough offensively from it.
Definitely. I mean, like, I'll come on to you in a second, Zach, but definitely the fact that you're talking about mixing it up, one of those things that falls into that category for me is taking a risk, like taking a shot on or taking a player on. Like, literally, I was watching the City and United game earlier, and the first goal comes from Doku making a little run inside, sort of does like a little step over and then goes back around the Man United defence, puts the cross in after his first one was failed, and they score from it. But like, no one takes anybody on anymore. Like, all the players we've got, Gray's incredibly quick, very technical, but he looks afraid to take players on. Same with Roberts on the other side. We've got Doyle going through the middle and Stansfield. Like, just no one ever takes anybody on. It's so frustrating. But yeah, Zach, what do you think? How do we? Me and Sam talked a little bit about a lot of different things there, but maybe just have a little think about what that.
I think these next few games are going to be really interesting. I think in terms of how Chris Davies will set up and what he'll do. Because since he's joined the club, he's made a few player changes here and there. He's even changed formation on the odd occasion. The one thing he's never changed is the way Blues play football. He's never strayed from that possession-based, slow build-up style of football. Is this going to change now? Is a poor result against Northampton and 2 losses in the league going to get him questioning the way Blues are going to approach Championship football this season?
When did we play Northampton?
Sorry, who did we play in the cup?
Port Vale.
Port Vale. I just think it'll be really interesting to see how he sets up, particularly against Swansea, because Championship football, League One football, League Two football is very much known as, it's a very physical game. It's, present, strong. That's why the likes of Djokovic always perform so well. Will he change the way Blues have played football for the last year and a half? I'm so interested to see, because so far, started the season pretty well. The last few games have been pretty abysmal. So if he mixes it up, will he mix it up? I don't know, but I'm super intrigued. I think it will test Chris Davies a lot as a manager. It's the most he's been tested so far since he's joined Blues. And I think this next few weeks will be really telling into how adaptable he is as a manager.
I think we all knew it was going to come at some point as well, like the real fierce test that he's going to have to face as a manager now, because there's been a lot of people on social media, unsurprisingly, on his back from yesterday's performance and the performance from probably the last two games with Leicester and Port Vale. But he's going to have to find a good way around this, because it's not going to be easier. Last season was, he had a very good, strong squad in a, weaker league, really. Now he's in a tougher league with players who, there will be players in this team that won't be up for it, and there will be players that are really going to work hard and, become the key figure of the team. We need to work that out, and a lot of the players, I think, need to realise that as well. They need to work extra hard now. They had the glory of last season, like the fantastic feeling of winning 111 points, winning a trophy. That's fantastic. But a new season is always changing. And I feel like we lost a little bit in somewhere along the line here. And I'll point out the fact that when we played Sevilla to the Nottingham Forest game, then the Ipswich game, it's somewhere along that line, like those three games that we played, we were phenomenal in, honestly. Like, we were pressing high, like energy just seems to be like off the charts. We're just so like enthusiastic, had the ball, we're doing nice possession based football, and yet it's just seemed to have evaporated out of nowhere. I don't know where it's gone, really. Maybe it is just some of the players that we're not playing in the right positions. Keshi Anderson wasn't featured yesterday, and maybe he's one of the answers, and I think he's been playing pretty decently too recently. That being said, though, I will say that before the game, I was quite adamant on the team that did start yesterday. Very disappointed, I've got to be honest. I didn't think it worked that well. I might have to revise my own opinions about that, really. But yeah, it's just something's missing. It really is, and I can't really put my finger on it. I can put my finger, obviously, on the shooting elements, which obviously I can just sit here and talk forever about just shooting. But even still, like, there is something still missing at the moment. But I suppose maybe we can work that out by going through some of the players. But a couple of the players I'd definitely like to bring up, two of the best performing players last season, Paik and Iwata. Obviously, Paik in recent games has just been playing backwards. Like, my dad was talking to me yesterday, every single thing that he seemed to do yesterday was just to turn around and play backwards. Iwata just seemed absent from the whole game. He doesn't ever seem to take on shots. He seems to be lost and misplaced sloppy passes. I was having a bit of a go at him myself yesterday about him just giving the ball away all the time. But those two players don't seem themselves at the moment.
Yeah, I think with Paik, I'm not quite on the same level as like perhaps your dad, because like he was saying yesterday that didn't think like Paik performed well, and it's the passing sideways and the passing backwards. I think Iwata's performance frustrated me a bit more, because I feel like there just wasn't really any passing range in terms of actually finding the feet of one of our players. Because at least Paik was actually, finding the feet of players, whereas Iwata's just wasn't. And there was a moment actually late on in the game where Kyogo's come on and he's made a good run, like round the back, and Iwata's got the ball and he's nowhere near finding him. Like, he's not even gone to play the pass. And we're like, we're 1-0 down. We've got to go and try and find the equaliser here. There's got to be a bit of urgency. And I feel like just that urgency is missing, mainly from when we played Ipswich, where we were really at them and we asked questions of them, versus that Stoke game. And we've got one of the stats here, by the way, about dead pass types. I love this one.
Yes.
So this is where the ball is stationary, right? We're second for that with 284. First for that is Sheffield United. And that means that the ball is stationary when we've made the pass. And that goes to show how slow the build-up's been. If the ball is stationary, then it's not sort of like on the move and getting behind them. And I just think, that's where I'm really frustrated. And we saw it at the game yesterday, like even sort of towards the back end where Asai Samuel's got the ball out wide, and you're expecting men to like bomb forward, like, the Blackburn winner, Lyndon Dykes. But there just wasn't. And he didn't really have anybody on. And thankfully, he won a foul. He done really well. But just didn't see that urgency within the game to try and find an equaliser.
Yeah, and I think that stat is super interesting because I'm trying to think back to times this season where Blues have had 4 or 5 quite intricate passes in a row that's opened up a bit of play. You're like, oh, that's beautiful football. A lot of the time, our build-up play is very much cross into the box or just trying to needle the ball through. It's very rare that we're playing these 1-2 tiki-taka style of football. We do build up the ball so slowly, and we've constantly seen it throughout Chris Davies's tenure, and now it's starting to cause us some problems. So something needs changing. I question if it's individual players and individual performances, because that team last season, and to be fair, the team that started the first few games this season were just brilliant. Like, you couldn't fault anyone. And I think the last few games, yes, some players have stood out as not being quite themselves or up to their best, but I just feel it's not quite down to individuals. I do think there's something deeper in our style of play, in our tactic, because people were questioning it last season, even when we were getting results, which I think was really interesting because why are you questioning this? We're getting the 3 points every single week. Why does it matter? But I think people's concerns lied in the 1-goal victories and in the tight, narrow games. And now the quality and opposition have gotten much better and they're scoring first. All this sort of stuff is causing us problems. So I just think tactically something needs to change. I don't quite know what that looks like. I don't know if would you guys like to see Chris Davies mix up the way he operates and the way he gets his team to play football?
I think sorry, Tommy, but
no, you're good.
I think the build-up's fine, but it's when we get to the final third.
Yeah.
That's when we've got to pull the trigger, because I can see the patterns of play unfolding, and it's very similar to what we had last season. So I wouldn't have a massive overhaul in that respect. It's just, as Tommy says, being a bit braver in the final third and just grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck, because players like Damari Gray, they've got the ability to do it. They can drive at players. Defenders will be scared of him. And that's that thing, again, Tommy, that you alluded to about just taking players on and really asking questions of them.
One thing I'll bring back to you actually, Zach, with you talking about last season in terms of like those 1-goal differences, because yes, obviously you're absolutely right, but I'm a bit 50-50 on it, because from last season's perspective, it did not matter. If we got the goals and got the win, that was all that mattered. But you're also right in the fact that there is concerns in terms of the fact that there's not been that experience with it, has there, just yet? I mean, like, how many games last season did we win by more than 3? I think it was like a handful. I can remember we beat Mansfield and the other team, Cambridge, 4-0 and 4-1, and then Barnsley was a bit of a fluke in terms of the 6-2. Wigan, we won like 3-0 away. There's a fair few games, but none that consistent. There wasn't we weren't blowing teams away by winning 5-0 every single week. And because we did win games like 1-0 or 2-0 in the odd games, like that sort of mentality isn't infused with us just yet. So even though it wasn't a big problem last season, it could be this season because we're not used to it, But there's an easy fix for that, in my opinion, which is just taking on more chances, because you can work out what works then. At the moment, it's an old Michael Jordan phrase, isn't it? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, it's exactly the same with this. If it does soar over the top of the bar like Leonard's shot does yesterday, we'll learn from it, we'll learn how to strike the ball better, what positions are obviously better. I mean, obviously, from the most key player that we can relate to back in recent Blues history is Che Adams, obviously scoring 22 goals in a single season, who every single time he had a sight of goal, he took the shot. And he learnt that from James Beattie, who also was a prolific goal scorer in the Championship as well. And for some reason at the moment, we don't seem to be very... this could probably tie into a bit of the tactical look for Davies. He seems to have everything else sorted at the moment, even though we lost yesterday. But we could have been in the game and lost. Do you know what I mean? I feel we were in the game against Leicester, but we weren't in the game against Stoke. And we are going to lose games this season. It's just the natural thing. But the striker element of this team seems to be something that's just overlooked just in football in general at the moment. There's so many teams that don't seem to look at their striker, their centre forwards, and think, yes, this is somewhere we need to look at. And look at Erling Haaland today for Man City. Everybody was out of favour of him last season. Everybody thought that he's not good enough. He's lost his goal scoring ability. Now, honestly, he's absolutely run them riot, Man United today. And when we had Adams in the team, we were a threat, and we weren't even that great, honestly. Some of the players that you'd had in the team, compared to what we have now, we've just got a proper squad and a fantastic team. And I like Jay, and I think Jay is a proper goal scorer. He's definitely got that in him, and he can prove that he can do it as well. Last season in in League One and in the Championship the season before, he scores goals, but he's not been helped out enough, is he? You know, he's not getting the right guidance to become a proper talented striker, and he needs that. Otherwise, the goals that we're going to get are just going to be, I don't know, they're going to become much more, well, much less, obviously. Like, if we can't teach our strikers to score goals in an efficient and prolific way, we're never going to score goals, are we? And that's the problem for us, I think, at the moment. So in terms of like tactical change, obviously Davies will know best for himself because he knows his own tactics and he can change it up. You know, he changed it up last season during after January as well. You know, we went on a very good run where before we were a bit like, who do we fit where? I mean, like, we were all saying halfway through the season, sort of like November time, thinking, yeah, Christian Bielik and Christoph Klara at the back. Obviously, that didn't finish the way, did it? You know, it finished off with Klara and Ben Davies. And yet, things will change throughout the whole season. And I'm very confident that Davies will know how to change the team. But I think he needs to know a little bit more about how to help out specific players. And Jay is one of those players because he's still young and he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders as well, with everybody criticising him all the time. So I just think maybe him as an individual in terms of your tactical change, yeah. But
I wouldn't say to change the shape, but I think it's the personnel and finding the right combination in the forward areas, because that's the area where we signed the most players really, like in this window. You know, there's a lot of attackers that have come in, and it's just about finding that right combination. Because, you know, in the pod before the game, Tommy, like, we were speaking about what starting 11 could face out for us, and everybody pretty much had a different idea of what they would do to start the game. And maybe part of that factors into Chris Davies' decision making, where each attacker brings their pros and cons, and it's just about weighing it up of, like, if we're missing, say for instance, like a focal point up front, you know, when to introduce that certain someone to the game. Because Marvin Dutch came on yesterday and didn't really offer that focal point, because again, we don't know whether he's the number 9 or whether he plays deeper. Like, we genuinely don't know his best position. So I'm hoping that as the season goes on, we can figure that out and know where players fit in. And, like, you know, looking at statistics, 2 shots on target in our last 4 games. Like, that is nowhere near good enough, and you're not going to win games consistently by having those statistics. So I feel like a lot of it is players sort of adjusting to each other, but you can't use that as an excuse. It purely is, you know, it's one of those ones where we speak about it a lot and we don't know fully the reasons yet. But I'm sure that Chris Davies over the next week will look at who can do what ahead of that Swansea game, and home games are really important as well, as your dad said. You know, those are the ones where we really got to be picking up 3 points and keeping St Andrews as a fortress.
I completely agree with all you've said there, Sam. I think particularly that comment about the front four, because it has changed it quite a bit, and we've seen players come in and come back out. That back four, you pretty much know what it's going to be every single week. I know we've seen Asai Samuel drop yesterday, for example, but it's pretty consistent, as are the 2 deeper players. But for example, we've seen Gray and Anderson switch sides. We've seen Stansfield up front and in behind, Dutch up front and in behind, Kyogo start, Kyogo dropped. That front four is far from cemented. And I think even in the last podcast, we said that probably the only position that's cemented is Gray on that left-hand side. But Anderson was superb last season. And when the cameos he's had this season, he's looked pretty good as well. So even that position, in my mind, is up for grabs. So it's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of experimentation, I think. Look at last season. I think Chris Davies, throughout the majority of the season, was pretty set on his 11, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2. We're now probably talking 3, 4, 5 positions where he's like, who do I put here? What's their best position? And it's tough. It's a big squad. It's a big team with a lot of talent. Talent and quality certainly isn't the question. There is a front four in that Blues squad that are more than capable of taking us to a top 4, 5, 6 position this season. It's just about finding the right one and nurturing those individual players to get the best out of them. But I think we'll see some changes for Swansea, potentially in the way we play, but I think it'll be more, that front four and just cementing each player into their positions and roles for the season.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. I just think, though, that we just need a little bit more individual player focus at the moment, because I think Davies works perfectly with the team. But I don't know if we have
what do you are you able? I'm not sure what you mean. Like, do you mean as in behind the scenes, or like playing them in their preferred positions, or like?
I think they all get played in their preferred positions. Like, Gray doesn't get used as a attacking midfielder or a striker. He's a winger, which is his position. But in terms of like working on how to score goals, almost, because that's our most key thing that we need at the moment. I don't know if we have one or not, but like if we have like a striker coach for Jay, then he can learn off him, with his back to goal, learn how to spin and shoot, and then how to run off his player and everything. And then also you can work around with the wingers and the midfielders of how to feed that into him in the preferred way. Basically, just trying to work on the best way to try and get goals for the team, really, because everything else we seem to have like nailed down in that same way. Do you know what I mean? So like when we build the play forward, we have the ball from the back, we work it round, starts off with Clara, and we know how to keep possession. So how do we not know the best way to score goals at the moment? So like I'm trying to work it out how to say it, and I'm probably having a bit of a shafted way of saying it.
The thing that's missing out of everything we've said, the thing that's missing is just goals, isn't it? We
Yeah.
just need to find a way of scoring goals. Everything else is pretty okay on the whole. It's 80, 85, 90, 95% there. It's just the goals. But I even think, is it the lack of chances we're creating? But I look back to the Sheffield United game in the Cup. I mean, Kyogo had 7 shots that night.
He did, yeah.
He had 7 shots. That's ridiculous. Like, how many strikers clock anywhere near that amount of shots in games? So we've shown at times this season we're more than capable of getting into the right positions, getting these shots off, testing the keeper. We're just not finding the back of the net. It's as simple as that. And it might be something that just comes naturally. As the season goes on, those goals might start flowing a little bit more because, the odd chance or two we miss against Leicester or Stoke or whoever goes in on another day, although yesterday was no shots on target, so it would have still been 0. But you know what I mean? These close moments might just change and swing our way. Who knows? But the key takeaway is simple. We're not scoring goals. We're probably not getting enough shots on target either. So Chris Davies needs to find a way to. I imagine he'll want to keep playing the style of football, very possession based, slow build up. Really, not be wasteful, take our time. But I think it's simple. We need more goals, don't we? And we have the talent. We have the players to do that.
Well, let's try and make it as a list then. So, like, if we were Chris Davies right now, what's on that list for the next 4 or 5? Well, because obviously the break for the internationals come back after the Wrexham game, if I'm not wrong. So over those next 4 games, I think it is, like, what is it that we need to do on that list? Yeah, obviously shooting is on top priority, but what else is there? What needs to be achieved in order to win some games?
I'd say bravery of wingers, to take on their man and have conviction in doing so. That's something that we spoke about. I feel like having that focal point is like a number 10 as well, because Tommy Doyle started there yesterday, but it was never quite clear whether he was the player that's playing further forward just in behind the striker, or kind of a 4-3-3. Like, that was a real chance for Doyle yesterday, and a lot of fans were calling for him to start, and he did, and that's why people were happy with it. But I just don't feel like he made an impression on the game. And again, he's one of those players we don't know whether he's better further forward or deeper.
Yeah, agreed, yeah.
And just on that point, we often see whoever's on the right shift inside quite a bit and drift into more the centre of the pitch. I do agree, we just don't really have that focal point in the middle of the park that really connects up the play. And again, I think with this attacking midfield position being changed and altered quite a bit. I mean, we've even seen Paik playing behind at times this season, in pre-season as well. So yeah, that lack of focal point as well is probably a bit more important than until you mentioned it's there, Sam, that I've really thought about, because even, seeing Dutch playing behind, it feels like so many players have played in that role. And I think coupled with that right midfielder squeezing inside a bit, it just feels we don't have that player we can look to in that team who will really step up in that final third and bring a bit of composure. Probably think to, although he's been playing a bit deeper this season, but someone like Bruno Fernandes, who, if you look at him in the Man United team, a proper leader. Whether he's playing a little bit deeper or he's in that front four, he just exudes, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. And I can't think of too many players in that Blues team who really can step up when we're desperate.
I get what you mean, yeah.
At least this season.
Yeah, I do.
Dele Alli in free transfer.
It's the right thinking, though, isn't it? I wouldn't want Ali, or probably I've gone off the idea of Chamberlain now as well. But like
that profile, though.
Yeah, exactly. Someone who fits that mold. Someone like you were saying, Zach, of someone who's just wanting the ball all the time because they can create stuff. And I don't know. I thought Doyle would do that. I was happy to see him in the team yesterday, but like he just didn't offer that what I thought he would. But obviously, we'll find more out about players. But I don't know. So obviously, we've got shootings on the list, taking on players a bit more, having that bravery, as you said, Sam, and then that focal point in the middle of the pitch. Could it be Williamson? Is he playing well enough to be that focal point? I would love him to be, because I think against Leicester we tried to play him more out on the right, didn't we? Where we should have played him more central, because that's his position, isn't it?
Yeah, you know I'm a big fan of Williamson, and I know a lot of at least the comments are never too agree with me when I speak highly of Williamson, and I totally get it. If I had to have a Blues controversial opinion, that would probably be it, that I highly rate Williamson. But I don't think he's the answer at the moment. And I think we spoke about after the Leicester game, I felt like that night was his just big moment. There are a lot of question marks over him. Felt that was his chance to really, prove why Chris Davies has been consistently picking him. And I thought he was one of the weaker players on the pitch. So I think he can be our answer. And I think he probably was that sort of focal player when he first came to Blues in that period before his injury where he was just running the show. At the moment, I don't think so. I'd love him to get that game time because there's a really, really good player in Williamson somewhere. But right now, at this current moment, he's not what we need, I don't think.
Agreed. So who would you put then? So if you guys are Chris Davies now, who plays in that number 10 role against Swansea?
So glad I'm not Chris Davies because I wouldn't have a clue. Honestly, I wouldn't have a clue. You could pick so many names, but it feels like none of them are right at the moment. For me, and I think I said this on the last pod, I think Gray on the left, because I think even against Leicester, he looked our most threatening attacker. The majority, particularly in that first half, even when he was picked up a bit of an injury, the majority of our success was coming down that left-hand side. So if there was one position in that front four that's cemented for me, I do think it's Gray on that left.
Yeah.
And I do like Kyogo up front, as frankly wasteful as he has been in front of goal so far. I think his abilities off the ball and the amount of chances he can create for himself, I thought that was quite prevalent against Oxford. He just exudes energy, and I think the goals will come for Kyogo. For me, I'd like to see Gray on that left, Kyogo up top, and then on that right and in behind. I mean, I just don't know.
Sam, do you have a clear point on who do you think could be the focal point of the team?
I'd say in that number 10 position for now, you probably have to say Stansfield, like kind of similar to what we've done against Ipswich. And what we pointed out actually, Tommy, during the game is that what I feel like Stansfield's improved this season is that his close control is pretty good. And like the only real half chance we fashioned against Stoke was from like Stansfield, his close control, and then he's hit it against the side netting. So maybe something like that. And I feel like with Stansfield and Kyogo playing in similar areas, you feel like one of them's going to make a telling run. So I feel like with both of them and their movement, we've got to just try and find them probably along the floor as well, because again, you can't really hit it high to these guys because they're quite small and unlikely to win headers. So I'd say like as well, like passes along the floor and just maybe like dragging it back a couple of times rather than going to the back post, because that's what we do from A, set pieces, and B as well. There was one opportunity yesterday where Ethan Laird's got the ball and he's pinged it like up in the air and it's just gone off for a throw in, and you think in those positions you've got to do a bit better. So maybe just thinking a bit more about who you're aiming for in the box and then trying to find their feet rather than their head, because they're not the tallest of players either.
No, you're spot on again, actually. Yeah, I have to agree. I think the problem, again, like we all have with this team, though, in terms of like creating chances, is, again, what we were talking about earlier, is that speed in trying to get the ball into those areas first, because we can do them. Like Kumas looked pretty dangerous when he came on, to be fair to him. But again, just no final products in terms of like the actual final pass is there. I just don't understand what the problem is with us at the moment. I know I can't. I genuinely can't.
I thought Kumas looked particularly good actually in the first half against Port Vale. I thought that was probably his brightest period and the best he's shown at Blues. It's so tricky because the amount of times in Blues' past we've been, so threadbare in the front line. It's, to be honest, all over the pitch. And now there's an abundance of names to pick from, an abundance of incredible footballers who aren't quite performing to the levels that they probably could be at the moment. So it's just a minefield. Picking that team, particularly that front four, is just a minefield. It'd be interesting to see what everyone else thinks in terms of who should play in that front four, because I think we've discussed it recently, actually. I think we all had a few different answers, and I'm sure most Blues fans, that front four is far from set, and, it's proving in the teams Chris Davies is putting out. So shooting, that focal point, that want to take on attackers, it's in there. It's just about unlocking it.
This video is proudly supported by RM Risk Management, providing a comprehensive range of services tailored to UK property managers. Visit rmriskmanagement.co.uk to ensure a secure tomorrow. So in terms of that list, so we've got taking on more shots, taking more players on, being more brave, that focal point in the number 10 position. I mean, one of the things also we haven't properly touched on, that left back role. like, who do we play there? Because Cochrane didn't have a particularly great game. I don't think many people will disagree with me on that. But like, do we keep playing Ethan Laird there and Asai Samuel at right back?
Um, I feel like with that one, a bigger sample size, I think, would be telling as to whether Alex Cochrane's good for the championship. Because last season, I feel like the only game where he was properly rinsed was Newcastle, and that was against Asula. And yeah, it was a bit worrying to see that in the game yesterday because yeah, Manhoef just absolutely rinsed him on a couple of occasions, and yeah, it just looked a bit out of shape in terms of his positioning and everything. And I feel like you can make up for a lack of pace when it comes to defending, especially as a fullback, because Aaron Cresswell yesterday, like he had Ethan Laird up against him, who very fast, very athletic player, but because Cresswell was just smart in his positioning, he
Mm.
managed to just see off the danger that he had. So I wouldn't say like pace is the be all and end all because that's where Cochrane was exploited. It's more about how he works in the system and whether he's still kind of beneficial in the way that we play.
You said he was quick up there, weren't you? That's what you were saying
Yeah.
yesterday, and I completely agree. Like that awareness of where you are on the pitch, and just the overall experience. I think with Aaron Cresswell, obviously played many games with West Ham in the Premier League, so he's got that real heightened awareness of where his position is on the pitch and where he needs to be. And I feel like like what Zach was saying actually in terms of Gray being like a cemented left winger. Well, like if he's best position himself, he knows that himself, then we need to keep playing him there. We just need to work over positions on the pitch, and that's why I asked about the right back position because left back position. Sorry, it's like obviously Alex Cochrane is definitely a left back, but is he good enough to play there at the moment? And if so, do we need to play Ethan Laird there? Because otherwise we're a bit stumped, aren't we?
Yeah, I think that right back and left back position also very much up for grabs at the moment because we saw Bright Asai Samuel really come in and displace Laird, which personally I was quite surprised with. I thought Laird was superb last season. I thought, oh wow, that's just a quick straight swap out. And then we assumed Cochrane would hold his position, but then obviously Laird came in for a game or two. Cochrane picked up his injury, came back yesterday and didn't look his best. So it's interesting. There's two positions up for grabs, and we've got three very good players there, one of which can solely play left back. Laird seems like he can play both sides pretty comfortably.
Mm.
I don't know if Asai Samuel's ever played left back. I assume he's just predominantly been down that right hand side, particularly especially as he's played further up the pitch. I just don't know. I love Laird, and one of those positions has to be Laird's, in my opinion. I think one of them, be it left back or right back, one of them has to be Laird. So that's whether do we play Laird on in left back and give Asai Samuel right back, or is one of those positions that left back role Cochrane's Asai Samuel dropped? Again, it's so tricky. I like my favourite so far this season has been Asai Samuel on the right, Laird on the left, but Cochrane, despite a poor game yesterday, has been superb in that left back role, practically unfaultable most of the time. So it's tricky. What do you think, Tommy?
I probably have to say I'd go for Laird and Asai Samuel just because the results we got out of that too seems to work better in my opinion. They seem complementary of each other as well, because when we played Cochrane on that left hand side, because he's not as attacking as Asai Samuel or Laird, we have to play like a bit of a rugby sort of shape almost. So we have to sort of sit back on the left hand side and then push further forward on the right hand side, which against Leicester was just never going to work because like Tamari Gray has already gotten a knock and wasn't playing to his 100% because of the injury. Cochrane obviously had to come back a bit more, and then moving on that right hand side as well. Or did Cochrane even play against Leicester? I can't remember now. But even still, my point still remains the fact that we don't use the wings like the same, do we? If we play Laird there on the left back role and then Asai Samuel on the right back role, we've got the same threat going on either side. So if we want to switch the ball across, we've got the same outcome as we do on the right hand side, which is dangerous. And I definitely think that sort of overlapping run behind the wingers and feeding it into them is a real threat. And as long as we can just get the ball in quicker rather than taking our time on. I always put it down to a lack of assertiveness. It's like everything that we seem to take on, and this is from last season as well. Like this is again the thing that we were talking about earlier in terms of the fact that we didn't score as many goals as we probably should have done, and that's probably coming into an effect now, even though it wasn't the problem last season. Like every time we seem to make a big choice in the game in and around the box, like Neumann yesterday, God knows why he was even trying to take the cross anyway, being all 6 foot 4 or 3 of himself, like trying to get the ball into a box that he really should be on the end of it. But like he got the ball and he was like, do I cross it? Do I come back? Do I keep hold of it? Do I try and win a foul or something? Like he's got loads of thoughts going on in his head. And he eventually just takes a hard and terrible touch and he goes out for a goal kick. And it's like a really embarrassing moment for him. But like, if he'd have just made a choice in his head, he's just so stuck in his thoughts that he doesn't know really what to do. If he'd have just got, right, I'm just going to cross it and gets the ball in, even if it was a pretty shit cross, at least he's made some choices. It's not like one of those ones where he's just got, like yesterday, where he's got the ball and he's like, I don't know what to do. Oh, I've made a unconscious decision. It's just rolled out for a goal kick. And again, it's the same with the working in around the sides. It's like, do we cross it now? Do we come back? Do we try and lift it over the top? Is there like, do we hold it on and then just try and come back or whatever? Like, it's just make a choice. Like, even if it's the wrong choice, like just put it in. And that's why I wasn't particularly pleased with it, but I was kind of relieved that Leonard took that shot yesterday, even though it did fucking sail into the stands. It was like, at least he made that choice to go and have that shot, because that surely he can learn from then. He felt like, oh yeah, I felt how badly I got hold of the ball there. Like the ball sort of slipped on my foot and it's shot off into the stand. But the next shot he might take might suddenly just fizz along the bottom of across the top of the grass and fizz into the bottom corner. Do you know what I mean? So like, as soon as you take on opportunities and learn how to do it, then you've got that option open for you then. And that's why I feel like like if you played Laird and Asai Samuel there, you've got much more reassurance in knowing what's going to happen in that. And particularly if they take on those crosses and more of those chances, it'll become like muscle memory for us then. Like every time we get the ball down that right and left hand side, we know what we're going to do. We know we were going to pull it back, put it into the box along the right across the line of the defence into the box, like a little bit of a curling cross or whatever, or hold on to it and move it back round. We know what we're going to do then because we're set up well for it. So assertiveness, and I think that's why playing those two comes in handy. Whereas you play Cochrane at the moment, you're a bit like, if he does get the ball in on the left-hand side, he's good at crossing, but what if he's not there or anything like that? If he's not got the pace to get in round behind everybody, then I don't know. It's a tricky one. I might have butchered that a little bit at the end there, but I feel like I'm trying to work in a way of talking about that. But yeah.
What I would say about the Laird, Samuel as the fullbacks is that I'm a bit worried about creating a problem that doesn't exist, because if both of them are bombing forward, then that could leave us vulnerable at the back.
True.
So what I would say is that that's not really an issue at the moment in terms of like counter attacks, whereas that then could become a problem if we get counter attacks. The major change I'd make sort of in terms of creating opportunities is maybe dropping a Watter out the team and playing Doyle a bit deeper as like a deep line playmaker,
That's
because I feel like
interesting.
he's got the passing vision to try and pick out those Kyogo runs. Because I'm thinking we could score from an opportunity where Doyle's got the ball and Kyogo's made a run, and Doyle has the ability to then spot that run from deep. Because those are the ones that are going to get us through one-on-one on goal and create like really good opportunities for us. And I feel like Doyle has the passing ability to be able to spot Kyogo making those forward runs, and maybe him playing a bit deeper and seeing a bit more of the pitch is more beneficial to him, not playing as a number 10.
Yeah, it's interesting that is, isn't it? I'll come on to use that, but like pretty much just feed this question into you as well. But like, bring in your favourite players out the team. It's never been something that has been easy for Blues fans to accept, has it?
No, not at all. And I think on your point, Sam, I think your approach would make us a more balanced team for sure as well. I think when Cochrane is in that left back role, we are a better defensive side. I think the luxury, especially if you look at Ethan Laird when he is on that right, or sorry, Samuel actually, it doesn't really matter, but they are so incredibly high. They might as well be right wingers. And whenever the Laird or Samuel has that license to bomb at the pitch, Cochrane is always he becomes part of a back three. That Blues three is cemented. It's always Cochrane. But we have seen when it's Laird and Asai Samuel, Laird does like to just edge forward a little bit. And he's not as high as he would be as if he was on the right hand side, but he's certainly higher than Alex Cochrane would be. So I think that approach does make us a more balanced and more defensive side. So he's got so many decisions to make at the moment, Chris Davies, countless decisions to make. There's no quick fix, easy solution that the answer's not going to appear overnight. I think it's going to be a season of a lot of trial and error. And to be fair, let's be honest, the amount of teams that come up from the Championship, how many bounce back and go straight up to the Premier League? Very, very few. I think this season it'd be great if we can just cement ourselves as a Championship side, because how many times have we been able to do that over the years and say, yes, Blues are a solid Championship side. Our last tenure in the Championship, we were constantly flirting with relegation until we eventually went down. I think if we can just see this season as Let's get some good results behind us, a good team, a good foundation. Let's have a decent season, anywhere between top of the league and 10th. I'll see as a success. Let's just stabilise, know what we're doing, and push on. But yeah, countless decisions for Chris Davies to make.
Interesting, yeah. I think you might actually have persuaded me about that Cochrane thing because the more you argue about the debate, I think that's right. Actually, it's more balanced, isn't it? It's because we do. I feel like as well. Like someone said this actually about the Leicester game as well. Like if you sit back for a bit and defend, like because obviously that's what Leicester and Stoke did to us, didn't they? They absorbed our pressure and then just broke on us, didn't they? And that's how they got their goals, really, in that flurry of play afterwards, before the goal that they got Stoke yesterday was like. Yeah, I can see that actually. So yeah, maybe you're right actually. I think that the idea of Cochrane's better.
Just to interject as well, I also think it gives Gray a bit more license to try and take on those players, something we're looking for. Because if Laird's constantly making that overlapping run, that's another option for Gray to consider. Whereas if he's a bit more alone and on his own, he'll have that, almost no other option but to try take a man on. So even I said Laird and Asai Samuel I prefer, but I think even I've convinced myself that maybe Cochrane is the more reserved and better option. But yeah, as we said, there's so many things that can be chopped and changed with this Blues team at the moment, which is something that's not really been apparent over the last year and a half. But yeah, I think the next few weeks are going to be very pivotal as to how we'll see Blues' season go.
Definitely, yeah, it's absolutely true. I mean, so we're looking at that list then. So obviously, taking on more shots, taking on more players, having a pivotal role in the attacking 10 position, and then there might have been another one I can't remember now. But
No
there
back
was
post crosses to Clara, please.
yes,
Just
that's on the
doing
list. That's on the list. Playing Cochrane at left back, I think, is probably the most convincing argument at the moment because it gives us more balance. No back post crossing anymore. Mixing it up, as you would say, Sam. Actually, I think that there's a good strong list that you can implement in training. And obviously, we're just a fan channel, so we have these opinions.
You're welcome, Chris Davies.
Yeah, exactly.
Take it. There you go, man. We've done it for you.
And also, have you heard the narrative surrounding like England and what Brentford are utilising? Apparently, long throws are back, guys.
Fucking hell! No way.
You always got a long throw.
I'm not having that again. See, I don't blame you, Tommy. If long throws are back, then
fucking long throws. I forgot about that. Yeah, we were doing a bit of that against
take a long throw.
Leicester. Yeah, fucking hell. Yeah, no. Okay, right. Yeah, me and Sam were.
Brentford yesterday, so
it ain't gonna work for us though, is it? We ain't got any tall players in attacking positions. Oh, like we got nobody who can throw the ball with like from fierceness as well. Like if we had Rory Delap in the team, yes, I would be in favour of that. But no one can throw the ball like that good. Or that Tamworth guy. Can we not just bring him on like an NFL sub and just bring him on for throws and then take him back off? But yeah, what was I going to say there before you interjected with that nonsense? I think realistically though, like as Chris Davies would probably see this as like he probably has similar ideas, obviously, but obviously he can base them off actual facts. Like we're just theorising, obviously, we just throw our own opinions of what we can see on the pitch. But I think he's got a real test of like what the hell he does next because like there is a lot of different cogs that aren't all going to fit in together, are they? And I feel like yesterday when I was seeing it on paper with my because that was the team that I wanted to see yesterday. I was happy with that. I thought, yes, it looks good. You've got Doyle in that attacking midfield role. He can turn and he can play the ball into Roberts or Gray and get us moving forward. And then we can really start to squeeze Stoke in and make some real chances and get some goals. But in theory, it works. But obviously, in practicality reasons, it just didn't work yesterday. And it could do still. But yesterday just wasn't the right team to approach against Stoke. And like when that doesn't work, and I think Davies himself planning that team must have gone, yeah, that looks good. There's proof on paper that could work, but then it just doesn't work in reality. Then he's got a real dilemma of, well, what do I change? Because I thought that was going to be good, and so it leaves an incredible dilemma then of like, do I make more risks and try and change more players? Do I keep it as it is? And maybe if that doesn't work, then there's more pressure on me. And maybe my time window for changing it is sort of gone, if that makes sense. So like, I probably should have done this point. But now we've lost a couple of games. It's like, oh, I've probably missed that window and other teams are starting to work us out a little bit.
Yeah. I think we've kind of summarised everything now, haven't we, in terms of speaking about what the issues are and to resolve it. And it's kind of been very therapeutic, I think, speaking on this podcast. And I feel like some of the listeners hopefully could have the same opinion of just, talking things through, and there's still a lot obviously to be positive about because I feel like the whole podcast has been, talking about the Stoke game of the last three games, and it's a bit doom and gloom. But there's still so many games of the season to go, and I'm just still hoping that we'll be right up there.
100%. That's a good way to end, Sam. I like your positivity at the end there. It was a pleasure having you with us yesterday. It was a nice change from Jack. Obviously, he was just standing there looking
I don't know
miserable.
what his reaction would have been to that game.
I'll ask him later on, but honestly, yeah, he was absolutely. When he was messaging me, he was like, "Thank God I missed that one. That was absolutely shite. That was." But it's been a good chat, actually, lads. Like you said, Sam, very therapeutic. It's good to talk about these things and air things out. But yeah, hopefully the things can change around in the next couple of weeks. We've got a fair few tough games. I mean, Swansea are no mugs. Coventry have started the season pretty well, and also we've got Wrexham coming up after that on the game before the international break as well. But there's some winnable games. We've got 2 games at home, 2 games away, unless there's another one in between, which I've completely forgotten about, which I'm not entirely sure about.
Swansea, Coventry, Sheffield Wednesday, Wrexham. I think
That's it. Yeah, no, it is. I am right. I mean, the winnable games, definitely the ones at home. Coventry is going to be a tough one, I think, just from the fact of how they've started, and Frank Lampard's a good manager, and in recent years, our history there has not been great as well, so that's going to be tough to overturn. But like we were saying yesterday as well, just keep the home ground a fortress, because we haven't lost there since April of 2023, I think, or something crazy like that. So if we can keep that up, then that's a good confidence boost for all of us, because, like I was just saying, Swansea are no mugs. Even though we're at home, we've got to play really strongly, really aggressively. So
I don't think it's 2023, Tommy.
Oh, I think it is.
We got relegated in 23-24, didn't we?
No, I think it is, though. I do think we haven't lost. Yeah, no, I don't think we've lost since then.
You're joking?
That's nuts. That shows how unbelievable we've been. This podcast has felt like a proper throwback podcast where...
Wait. So we didn't lose a home game on the season we got relegated?
No. April 2023.
Yeah, 23-24.
No, you're right. You are right, I think. Yes, sorry, 2024, you are right. Why did that not make sense in my head? Yeah, no, so it is 2024. Yes, it's not 2 years. Yes, it's 2024. You are right, Sam. So we haven't lost since then. Obviously, if it was 23, then that's pretty mental. But that is what I meant, but it didn't come out as 24. It sort of sounds like 23.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we lost the home game when Rooney was in.
Yes, exactly, yeah. But April 2023 wouldn't have even been Rooney at that point.
No, that would have been like tail end of the year, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I meant 24 for listeners. Yes, it's in that 23-24 season. So yeah, but yeah, obviously, like we haven't lost since then. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, I mean, like we can't really try and think about losing at home as well, because even a draw is good enough in the Championship. And again, we go back to Sunderland last season, who won the playoffs last season. I mean, I'll quickly bring up how many games they lost, because every single time it makes you think, like, that's like relegation form whenever you see it.
Yeah, it's the same with Bristol City as well. They lost quite a few, didn't they?
Exactly, yeah. Sunderland lost 12 games. Sheffield United, who finished on 90 points, lost 10. And Coventry lost 17. They finished on 69 points. Bristol City lost 12. Finished on 68 points. So losses are going to come this season, but they can't be losses at home. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we go undefeated throughout the whole of the rest of the home season, we're in good nick, I think. So we just got to stay strong at home and keep on making it a fortress. And teams like Swansea, we can beat at home, definitely. And obviously going into the Sheffield Wednesday game, that being a typical Blues fan for a second, that one worries me a little bit. I don't think it will lose it, but I definitely think, though, it could be a potential banana skin, just because of the way that they're battling like hell to stay in the league. Though, to be fair to them, like, they're not taking this line down, that's for sure.
They lost 3-0 yesterday.
I know, but they're still playing well. Like, they've got absolutely no players. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like. I know they lost, and obviously they are going to lose games, but they're battling like hell. And I tell you, Barry Bannon coming back to the Blues, we've had history with him before, and again, like, the thing about Sheffield Wednesday is that
we Clara early doors on him, by the way.
Yes, exactly, 100%. The thing about Sheffield Wednesday is that they were obviously they are going to get relegated this season, because they are absolutely busted from the get-go. But to sort of compare it to when we did get relegated, everybody was saying, "Oh, Sheffield Wednesday are completely done for, they're not going to survive at all," and they did stay up. So, like, those games, like, even though they won't stay up in games against us and other teams around that area, really want to go and beat us, and particularly with the bit of the recent history we've had, we've got to be on top of our form in those games. And I just worried that with the certain form at the moment, okay, we can take our foot off the gas maybe against Wednesday because they've been losing games. Got to stay on top of those ones. That's all I'd say. But yeah, we've gone on a bit. I've gone on a bit of a ramble again as usual. But that's the Blues Focus podcast at its very best.
Summary: just shoot.
Yes, exactly. I might title this video "Just Shoot" or have it in the little thumbnail. Actually, just shoot. That's the shooting. That's the takeaways from today's video. But yeah, very good chat. Very good indeed. We will see you next week for the next podcast on next Sunday. You can tune into the Unplugged on Wednesday night for a preview of the game. You can also get your chats in live for the guys to read out live on air. And yeah, loads of stuff coming up with the with the Blues Focus channel in the upcoming weeks and everything. Sam, Zach, thank you very much for joining me tonight. It's been a pleasure as usual. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe for more Blues news and keep right on.
You're problem, guys.